What's up YouTube, Kyron back up in here with another video, and today we have a bit of a discussion video slash pickups video that I wanted to get into. So the topic of discussion today is what makes designer clothing worth it slash investment pieces that are worth buying. So if you guys are not new to the channel, you guys know that I'm a big fan of luxury garments, and I think that they are worth it when it comes to certain items, and this video is basically just to paint that picture and really emphasize why I think it's smarter to buy less but of more high quality garments, so more quality over quantity. And to help out this video a bit, I'm just gonna showcase a bit of pickups at the beginning and then get into a bit of my reasoning as to why I choose to partake in luxury fashion over fast fashion. And a huge help in putting this video together is all thanks to the beautiful people over at FARFETCH. Huge shout out to FARFETCH once again. I am always so grateful to be working with them. And today we're gonna get into some of the great goodness that is in the few little packages right here on the floor. We're gonna get into that in a second, but if you guys didn't know about FARFETCH, I'm gonna break down all that it's about right now. So if you guys are unfamiliar, FARFETCH basically acts as the middleman between you and some of your favorite boutiques around the world. Basically, they source all of these smaller, more independent boutiques, and they use their inventory as FARFETCH's inventory. So they have the most selection that is available online for most online retailers. So you end up lucking out a lot of the time. You could find your size and also garments that would normally be sold out on a lot of other sites. So this is why I choose to shop on FARFETCH, point blank period. You know what I'm saying? It's just the way to go. It's my preferred way of shopping, so definitely go check out FARFETCH. They have a bunch of newer designers, and then also they're just very eco-cautious with like their shipping methods, and then also just the brands that they choose to showcase. They like ethically sourced garments, etc. They're just really doing their part, and that's why they're one of my favorite places to shop online. So let's get into some of the pieces that I was able to pick out for myself and just get into a little bit of a groove of the conversation as to why I prefer luxury clothing over fast fashion. So the first piece here, we got a little box, and no surprise here whatsoever. You guys know I'm big boy standing over this brand right here, Balenciaga. And this is my first pair of footwear by them in quite some time. The last piece of footwear I got from Balenciaga was about, I want to say back in like 2017. I got a pair of the harness boots. Still like a part of Demna's like first work, but now we're getting into some of his later work at the house, and it's some of his greatest work, I would say. So I actually first saw these back in my trip in New York. We just have these Balenciaga dust bags right here just to show a bit of the details. And when I saw these, I was like, I need these in my life. They're just so beautiful. They make everything just look so stylish. These are the Sergeant Derbies, huge, chunky lug outsole, super just durable, vigorous, just very aggressive. Some people might be like, oh, those look like clown shoes, but these with some like really baggy trousers just look like a deadly combo. And the more that you wear these in, they're just gonna look so great. So I'm not too scared to like beat these up a little bit. And that's something that's beautiful about luxury shoes. It's just like you have something like this that's just so pristine, but even if you decide to put some wear and tear into them, it just builds a beautiful patina over time, and then you're able to like kind of make them your own. And that's something that's so great about them. Even if they crease, even if they do anything that the average person would not want, that's something that I personally don't mind at all. And then we could get that little detail right there at the bottom. There we go, perfect. And then the bottoms, got that good old Balenciaga on the sole. And yeah, so the moment I saw those was like back in my trip in New York. I saw them at the Balenciaga store, but I wanted to hold off. I was like, I don't deserve them yet. But luckily enough, I was able to find them on FARFETCH, and I was just so ecstatic as soon as I got those, and I couldn't stop thinking about them. And luckily enough, they were like one of the only places that had them online. Nowhere locally to me had them, and I don't live in New York, so that was the best way I was able to acquire those shoes, and it was only possible because of FARFETCH. So super grateful for the opportunity. If you guys are interested in those shoes, definitely recommend sizing down once, if not twice. I'm normally a 44 and I got a 42 in those, so that's kind of just like shows you an example. It depends on how wide your foot is, but yeah, I'm normally a size 11, went down to, it's equivalent to a 9, right? And they don't do half sizes, so just keep that in mind. Definitely size down once, if not 2 times. So the next piece, this is not something I can necessarily show in full on this frame just because of how wide they are, but this is a pair of Balenciaga pants once again. I'm obsessed with Balenciaga's bottoms just because I feel like they really flatter my proportions beautifully. If you guys know me, I'm very much a like cropped, tighter torso in my uppers and my tops at the moment, and then for the bottoms I tend to do like a baggy moment, and that's exactly what I ended up doing with these pair of pants. This is the Balenciaga Unifit tag right here, and then it also has the also famous FARFETCH tag right here as well, and then here. So yeah, really great. You guys know I have a pair of the cargos already, but these ones are a little different. They have like cargo pockets all along the leg, different types of darting on the kneecap. They have like a front zipper detail here hidden, and the cool thing is that it's two-tone, so like the back is actually a denim, whereas the front is a cargo pant, so it's completely split. And you can see that difference right here in texture. Cargo, denim. You can see that different tone of black as well. Really cool adjustable waistband. Balenciaga on the bootay right here. Yeah, just a beautiful pant. Natural distressing that just is featured on the back heel, just like exemplifies where you would naturally see the wear and tear. And yeah, I just love these. You guys know how obsessed I am with the brand at the moment and just in the past as well. I'm just gonna get into a whole bunch of reasoning as to why I think luxury is the way to go if it makes sense with your personal financial situation. But even if not, I think less is more sometimes, and it's just the best way to go about things when you're trying to consume product and get into an elevated wardrobe. So this is some of my thoughts when it comes to luxury fashion. Before we get into all that, I just want to say huge thanks to FARFETCH. I really appreciate them as always, being one of my main methods in acquiring garments of this nature, and it wouldn't be possible without them. And my way to give back to you guys is to bless you guys with a discount code, of course. Kyron10 is my discount code, so make sure to go take advantage of that. All the terms and conditions will be available down below, so make sure to go take advantage of those steals and deals. You'll be getting a good little discount on that, so take advantage. I believe for all existing clients of FARFETCH, you'll be able to use it for the rest of October, which is amazing, and then after that it'll only be brand new clients of FARFETCH. So anyway, check all the terms and conditions. It will be in the description box below. Huge thanks to FARFETCH once again. We're gonna get into the rest of the topic of this video. So now, chit-chatting a bit about my thoughts on luxury fashion. So first and foremost, I just wanna acknowledge my privilege. I wanna say that obviously I know the position that I've carved out for myself with the channel and platform that I've built. I understand that it's not as accessible for the average consumer of fashion to just splurge and spend this absorbent amount of money on certain items. And I do realize that with these partnerships and other things of that nature, it makes it a lot easier for me to access these garments. But I just want to say that it is not impossible. I was buying designer clothing when I was like 16 years old because I was saving up my money and just being strategic with my purchases, because when I really wanted something, I was able to acquire that just by like not being cringy or anything, but manifesting that and putting all my energy into getting the things that I really wanted out of life. So it is possible. I don't want people to think that it's out of touch or out of reach. If you really want to work towards something, you're able to get it, guaranteed. With this position now that I've made for myself with this whole social media career and everything like that, I've been able to have access to garments that I never would have thought I'd been able to dream of in the past. Like no way I thought I would be able to have the slightest of some of the pieces that I have currently, but it is possible, like I said before. A great example of this, I just want to give you guys a little bit of a story, is like back in like, I want to say like 2016, 2017, when Demna was first appointed to Balenciaga. I remember being in college and I used to be in this flow of like knowing that I didn't have that much money at the time. I was like just prioritizing certain things, and just like it was difficult to justify and like fork up that much money for some of these pieces that were coming out at the time. And like Demna was just going crazy at the moment. Like Vetements was at its height. He was still there, and it was some of the most peak collections friends at the brand, and then also he just got appointed to Balenciaga. So it was just like a whirlwind of Demna at the moment, and I wasn't able to participate at all. So I remember these times back when I was literally window shopping, I'd go and try on the pieces in store, and just like I would take pictures and like not post them anywhere, obviously, because there was a little cringe, but I was just like in awe with the brand, and I just couldn't participate because it was so expensive. It gave me such motivation to be like, you know what, one day I'm going to be able to like actually acquire these pieces for myself and just like really enjoy them. And it might not be my time now, but eventually down the line, hopefully, who knows, if I'm able to work hard enough, I'll be able to get these things that I really enjoy. And look at where we are now. It's insane. It's a crazy like coming of time story. So it's possible. I keep on saying that, but it's possible. A lot of Demna's work really shaped my idea of what I enjoyed out of fashion in that moment, and also beforehand. My idea, one of the key things that really got me into fashion was like taking things that were ironic, or taking things that might not have been seen as beautiful or fashion forward in a high-end lens, and making it that was one of the things that I found the most interesting and intricate out of fashion. And two designers that really brought that to the forefront for me was Rick Owens and Demna, and both of them really did that with silhouette. I always used to see growing up as a kid as like baggy to be more like street, or more just a part of my environment. It's like very much it was very like big in the early 2000s, of course, like think like Soulja Boy, Lil Wayne, all these things, like it's heavily ingrained in Black culture. And to see these two designers take something that like a silhouette that was looked at as like hood, or like you're literally captured into one type of ballpark, and taking that and stripping it down and making it elegant or making it beautiful was something that I was so fascinated by. And I was like, wow, you're actually able to take something that had a certain connotation and like flip it into a positive, and not in like a cultural appropriation way, just purely on like what the clothing is able to captivate, which is, I just found it super interesting. I don't know if you guys are grasping exactly what I'm saying, but that's one of the things that made me fall in love with clothes, and these two designers were able to do that for me. Anyway, going back into the conversation of like affording this clothing, in a way, not being able to afford the clothing kind of gave me a weird motivation to strive to get this clothing for myself. I saw it as like a little bit of like a milestone or a mild trophy to strive towards, because these were just small little things that like allowed me to realize like, hey, all the hard work is paying off. Hey, I'm actually able to get certain things that I've always really enjoyed and wanted. And yeah, that might seem a little materialistic, but it just gave me small little baby steps to grow towards and strive towards. And I was just like checking off boxes of certain things. I was like, hey, like things are going well, you know what I mean? So it's small little bits of rewarding and motivation that have you look at your achievements and everything that you want to execute in life and just really go for it. So I'm really grateful for that separation, that detachment, and these brands that were kind of out of reach, because it made me want to strive to make that gap a lot closer, if that makes sense. Another concept that I want to break down to you guys is cost per wear. Okay, so the way that I justify a lot of garments is take into account these. The retail price of this shoe is something like $1,000 US, right? So if you want to break it down and you know that this is going to be your it shoe, you take the cost of the item and you break it down to how many times you're going to wear the item. It's the same thing like how you buy consumables or anything of that nature. For example, you're buying toilet paper and there's 36 rolls in the toilet paper package. You know how many uses you're gonna get out of it, right? So bringing it back to the shoe, I know this is a weird concept, but hear me out. Bringing it back to the shoe, it's $1,000, right? If you know you're going to wear the shoe 1,000 times, it's $1 per wear. It's as simple as that. If you know that you're gonna get that much wear out of an item and you could justify it, and you know that in a week you're literally just cranking this out and just like you have it for years and you know it's gonna last years on end so that I could get to that 1,000 wears, then you're already in the gravy. The last Balenciaga shoe that I have from back in 2017, I still own, and I'm pretty sure that at this point it's probably in the hundreds of wears. So it makes sense to invest in some of these pieces because you know it's gonna last the test of time. And then also the more that you wear it, you kind of just justify in your head with that cost per wear tactic or strategy. and then yeah, kind of just makes sense from there. Hopefully that concept makes sense to you, but cost per wear is just like, it makes a lot of sense to me. Kind of helps me justify the wardrobe that I have. If I'm not really wearing it that much and the cost per wear is on the higher side, I decide to sell it or let it go or try to like swap it out for something else that makes a little bit more sense for my personal wardrobe. So yeah, concept, cost per wear. So the next topic I want to get into is cut. The cut of the garment is something that is really overlooked, I think, and a lot of times like butchered in the fast fashion category of things. A lot of things that we see in fast fashion are in the curve of where designers start and then fast fashion and the mass market ends here. So when a designer is brewing up new concepts and ideas, it kind of starts over here, and that takes a lot of incubation work. There's a whole team working with the set designer. There's a whole bunch of like videos that I could put overlays on this video just to give a little bit of context, but there is a lot of thought and intricate detail that is overlooked, I think, when people are able to walk into a fast fashion store and just see an item of clothing and be like, oh, I like this, it looks like this, why not spend this as opposed to this? If that makes sense. You know what I mean? If there's $1,000 pair of denim and there's $100 pair of denim, the average consumer is obviously going to go to $100 pair of denim because they see it as more worth it for them with the financial availability that they have. And also if they don't care about certain details in the cut of the garment or details in terms of like how it was made or the designer itself and all like supporting that aspect of fashion, then the average consumer isn't really going to care. So personally, to me, knowing like how many hours goes into creating some of these pieces and just like really being meticulous with how a piece fits and falls on the body, that's some of the most important parts of fashion personally. So I don't mind shelling out a bit more money to know that the cut is going to be perfect on me. A great example of that is with these Balenciaga denim right here. So every time I bring up this pair of denim, a lot of people like to roll their eyes because they're like, really, are you stupid enough to pay $1,000 for some jeans? And I get it. I get why people would eye roll at $1,000 on some denim when I literally have a rack of beautiful, aged, and great wash Levi's right here, the whole rack right here. But my case in point with talking about cuts, I was on the hunt for a wide pair of denim for so long, a very, very long time, and I was unable to find it with Levi's. I tried to buy multiple cuts and go down the rabbit hole of like really staying true to some of my origins. I really believe in vintage and secondhand shopping a lot too, and finding like alternatives in that route as opposed to fast fashion. So I was testing out all the old Levi's cuts. I was like doing some real groundwork and research, and nothing was hitting the way that I wanted it to, just because the cuts that I was looking at or I wanted to draft up in my head were so forward and contemporary, if you really think about it, even though they reference some of the like older silhouettes with these early 2000s resurgence that's going on right now and like this heavily oversized and baggy moment that we're in. But to have baggy but tailored to perfection is not something that's really easy, especially when you go to this back portion right here. The way that the bottom or bum portion of this pant is constructed is like not easy whatsoever, and most people that put together a pair of denim would be able to tell you that as well. And most men's denim is not made this way either, especially when you get into wider cuts. So also going into the details of this is made in Japan, beautiful denim, best denim comes out of Japan. So Demna knew exactly what he was doing when he was constructing something like this, and you could just tell that there was a lot of effort and emphasis on the cut and fit with something like this as opposed to just like more traditional cuts, which is not a bad thing. It's just I was looking for one specific thing, and when you want that detail, that specificness, if that makes sense, then sometimes you have to go for a design, which I get. Segueing off of that, I just want to talk about a bit of another reason why you would go for designer over like fast fashion, or just why I would support luxury garments a bit more. Because sometimes I like supporting designers or even smaller scale designers. I prefer giving my money towards something that I'm actually a fan of genuinely, and not just doing it because it's not something that's satisfying my soul. I don't feel like when I give my money to these larger corporations that are just more machine-like a Shein, like you guys get the idea. Like all these fast fashion brands that really don't care at all and just are like copy pasting things and not caring about the environment and not caring about true design is just not something that I want to participate in. And I'd rather give my money toward brands that I truly am inspired by and look up to, just because that's what I'm driven by. You know what I mean? Like I want to be able to participate in things that I inspire to be. So if I want to do that, then supporting fast fashion isn't going to be something that I want to partake in. Whereas if I'm contributing and participating in luxury fashion with certain pieces that I feel like are justified, like some of the wider cut denim or wider cut pants or footwear that I know is going to last the test of time, these are just all things that I know are not trend based. They're just more things that satisfy my personal likes and beliefs, and I think it's completely justified and it makes sense. So talking about quality, this is something that I feel like is brought up so much with designer clothing, and a lot of people like to say with price comes quality, and that I will say right out the gate is not always the case. For the most part, it's not always price means quality. I get it. Like people say, oh, you spent this much money on something, it must mean that it's made with the greatest elk skin and like teardrops of a angel's like anything, something wild and obnoxious. Think the most crazy thing ever. That's what people think designer clothing is sometimes, and sometimes that's just not the case. A lot of the times when it comes to simple items like this, of course, great, amazing calf leather, made in Italy, great construction, durable sole. Like this makes sense why the price point it is what it is. But sometimes where you get like into some of the pieces that are like more logo mania focused, like heavily branded, something like this, it's like it's a simple t-shirt. This is a Balenciaga t-shirt as well. Sure, it has a cool cut, but I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys. This is a regular t-shirt. What's carrying this is mainly the branding, and then also if you want to get deep into it, maybe the cut. And they were some of the pioneers that were getting into this like oversized, off the shoulder, boxy fit. And a lot of brands are starting to copy that DNA right now. Sure, and you'll probably be able to get that for a very reasonable price, but the origins starts with some of the designer brands, and that's where a lot of people like to put their attention to sometimes. And it's a personal preference thing. At the end of the day, you're paying for branding, you're paying for the cut of the garment, sometimes association to the brand, and just like think of all that goes into like a design house. And unfortunately, sometimes if we're going to be really honest, it's like a little bit of elitism in there. It's like you're a part of this conglomerate that a lot of people are able to access, and that's sometimes what logo mania is. So that's why I try to participate more in like the cuts and quality of some garments as opposed to like some items like this. I'll be honest, I got this in a mystery box. I didn't buy this. So things like this, not the most worth it, but the other things that I showcased, the ones from FARFETCH, definitely worth it. It makes a lot more sense. Lastly, I just want to talk about how designer clothing kind of just loops you into a certain ballpark. I heard this concept talked about when I was watching some videos on watches, and a lot of people tend to say when they're purchasing or investing in watches, just using this as an example in comparison to luxury fashion, but when people buy into watches, a lot of people like to say that it's a conversation starter. It allows you to have conversations with people that you would normally not be able to. And I know this sounds super vain and sounds very materialistic, and just like it makes a lot of people sad sometimes hearing things like this, but it's very true. Sometimes in order to get into the doors that you need to get into, you have to be like looped into like a certain level of status, and clothing is one of the ways to do that. And like just how you are presented is a way to do that. And I get why some people like to invest in watches, and like these pieces of status and all of these things allow you to like get into certain spaces that you need to in order to execute what you want to out of life. And I get why businessmen sometimes do that. In order to get treated seriously, sometimes you got to put on that Rolex in order to close that deal. You know what I mean? Sometimes you put on the nice suit one day in order to close that deal. I get it. So taking that idea and bringing it into fashion, sometimes people look at the Chanel bag a little bit crazier than the Zara bag. You know what I mean? And the same thing with Balenciaga over your average pair of pants. It's just like there's a certain level of a certain certain level of elevated nature to it that it gives. And it's sad sometimes, but sometimes you got to play the sport to win. And that's what I feel like clothing does sometimes. It's allowed me to have conversations and be in certain rooms that I never thought would be possible. And that's why I think that it is worth investing in. Some of what I've invested in the most is clothing, just because it's what I'm personally the most passionate in and inspired by. And it's allowed me to get to this point, and buying clothes and participating in fashion and doing all of this purely out of passion has turned into a career for me. So if that's something that you want to pursue as well, just partaking in all of these things and like doing it within a smart reason. Obviously, I'm not saying to like be financially irresponsible, but if you're being smart and strategic with the way you're saving up your money, starting from young, just being really meticulous about what pieces you want to acquire and saving up for those things, you're able to do it. So overall, if you conduct yourself with like a certain level of taste, I feel like it's able to carry you into certain rooms that you normally would not be able to. And that's what I think fashion has been able to do for me. I think a lot of the time that people would not be able to take me seriously if I weren't dressed the part or like in elevated attire. And not just because it's the luxury brands, it's more like understanding how garments are made, or understanding and caring about designers and carrying that into your own DNA and like mix matching. Like I do high-low all the time. You guys know that I mix luxury with vintage all day long, but without knowing about that luxury garment and all these designer brands and houses, I don't think I would give that extra attention and care to some of the vintage items that I'm buying. You know what I mean? Like I pay attention to how garments are constructed and laid with the same eye, and I wouldn't have been able to do that without luxury fashion. So I hope some of those reasons are enough for you guys to understand where I'm coming from with this whole thing. Just a little chit chat discussion that I wanted to do, and I hope you guys enjoyed that just as much as I did. I want to know your guys' thoughts as well too, because I know it's kind of like a touchy subject. I know I just want to give like a disclaimer. I understand the privilege that I have, and I understand that most people are not in the position to be shelling out thousands of dollars on clothing, but I do recommend that you guys buy quality pieces over quantity of pieces. And you could do that in any way that you want, whether it be vintage, secondhand, FARFETCH if you want to save up some money and buy some of your favorite designer goods. Any which way you want to participate, I support and salute you guys no matter what. So go check out FARFETCH if you guys have time and wish to participate in some of the deals and steals that I have for you guys. Once again, I said my discount would be on the screen right here, and you guys can find all of the terms and conditions down below in the description box. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you guys for watching. Like I said, let me know between the two pieces that I got from FARFETCH, which one is your favorite. And I just want to open up that conversation. I'm really curious to see what you guys think about luxury fashion. Do you think sometimes things are a bit too far, and like obviously prices just keep on getting larger and larger with inflation and everything? But it's an interesting conversation. I always think it's something that has been ingrained in my head from way back, and I've always wanted like to strive for the better things in life. So I'm just curious to think what you guys think about that. So yeah, gonna see you guys on the next one. Peace. Like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new. GOTSWEIGE. It's where you can keep up to date with me more frequently. I post fit pics, this and that. So that's what you can check out on there, along with the rest of my social media accounts to be in the description box below.